we're starting with a pretty big one. So the first album for this month is Music, Fashion and Film by Charli XCX.
It makes me wanna throw my life away. All the music, all the people. Not a single
And
kiss.
yeah, this unsurprisingly was our poll winner for July. Um, Quite comprehensive from what I recall, and I can't remember who picked it. It might have been, was it one that you picked for this month?
I think so, yeah. I
Yeah,
feel like if no one else was, then
yeah, you
I
probably went
should
for it
because
as
it
well.
it it needs to be in there.
Yeah, well, good shout, definitely. And yeah, thank you to everyone who voted to get this one on the board this month. I think, like you say, I think it was one that had to be on here. Obviously, Charlie, an artist who, yeah, needs no introduction at this point, gone from underground, like experimental pop artist to, yeah, just one of the biggest pop stars on the planet right now. And that was obviously largely down to the cultural sensation that was her previous album, Brat. Um, as said kind of at the top of the episode, one of the defining records of the 2020s. Um, and yeah, that wasn't just because of, yeah, the great pop music that was on there, but also just that enormous cultural impact of Brat Summer. I mean, not many albums make it to, was it like Oxford Dictionary's like word of the year was was Brat by the end of it. So that kind of says it all. And I think the enormity of the expectations, if she had waited a few years before following up that album, would have been just impossible to meet. I think, if she kind of done that album, gone away, and left it like 5 years, I think the expectations of when she's going to follow up Brat, is it going to be any good? They just would have been impossible to meet at that point. So yeah, I think she's done the shrewd move, returned basically a year or so after finishing like the album cycle run for that album. And yeah, I think with music, fashion, and film, for me it just feels like the perfect follow up project. There's a lot to tie it back to Brat. The fact that it's called music, fashion, and film, which kind of it's in itself incorporates that Brat era where you had the album itself, but then you had like the green artwork and the outfits, the fact that she had that accompanying film with it, the moment, as well. So, but beyond that, you know, I was thinking, what else do those three things have in common? And it was like, well, no matter how great the art as mediums, music, fashion, and film, they're designed to be like fleeting. Um, they often capture a moment in time and then they can just go out of style, like in a moment's notice. And I think it's it's that, that's kind of like running through this album. I think in that sense, it's Charlie letting us know that's where her head's kind of at on this record, even though she doesn't always explicitly say that's the case. I think if you look at like the themes and like the project as a whole, that's what really comes through to me. It's like she's finally achieved the acclaim that she deserves, but she doesn't want that moment to end too soon. And I think the rock music aesthetic of this album, um, I think that kind of symbolizes like that defiant attitude of like, you're not going to take it from me yet. Like, this is still my time kind of thing, which I just love. And yeah, I think lyrically, she just touches on a lot of subjects that kind of reflect that post Brat feeling. Um, Camera is probably the most overt in the way she talks about how her fame has kind of like taken hold and how it makes her feel vulnerable at times. But then you have like SS 26, which is, it's like a song about the world ending, which on the surface could just be about the state of the world in uh first half of 2026, which has been pretty apocalyptic, but it's also like, yeah, you could tie it to her fears, like if this album flops and You know, there's the fact that there's that line in there that references like being cancelled, which is like, again, it's a satirical dig that you could take at like politicians and people like that, but also a fear of her maybe saying the wrong thing, and like how quickly like this thing that she's built could just, you know, disappear. Um, and then the last track with David Cronenberg, No One Lasts Forever, which opens with the words, I don't want to go home. Now I'm more confident than ever. Since everyone knows my name, the party's just got better. And again, I think that kind of sums up the record for me. It's her not wanting this party to end. Um, but then by the end of, you know, that track, and by the end of the album, because it's the closing moment on there, it gets very ominous, and David Cronenberg comes in and he paints this feeling of like, you know, falling into the abyss, where he just repeats that phrase, they are dead, they are gone, like no one lasts forever. It's like very all doom and gloom kind of by the end. Um, but at the same time, I mean, it's a weird one. It's almost like it's daunting, but almost like this quiet acceptance from Charlie that she knows that this moment won't last, but she's just going to enjoy it as much as possible while it's here. So she kind of goes through that journey on the record for me of like the fear of not wanting the moment to end, and then by the end of it, it's kind of like, okay, it's not going to end forever. Let's just enjoy it while it's here, which I think's it's quite a beautiful thing, I think. And um, I think that sentiment of like just enjoying it while it's here is then reflected in the other tracks on the record, like Rock Music, Wink Wink, the ones that have that, you know, this is the Charlie you love, let's keep this party going feeling about them. Those kind of like signature singles and tracks that are on there. Um, and then there's a couple of nice moments where she like reflects on her career as a whole, like 2007 and Magic Metal Montana. Like both of them are like these love letters to her music ultimately. Like the latter Magic Metal Montana, that's like a one directed to her collaborator AJ Cook, who's kind of brought her to this place where she's the superstar that she is. And then the other is her kind of reflected on the time before she became Charli XCX. So 2007, it was kind of like her like just before she became the artist that she is, kind of thing. And yeah, it's just almost like her taking a pause, looking back, uh, like she's had her career up until BRAT, and then, you know, she's gonna have everything after it as well. It's kind of like the looking back, yeah, just looking at taking in the moment, I guess, is where she is on this one. But yeah, overall, I think from my side, definitely just the perfect follow up to BRAT. I love the sonic aesthetics with the guitars that she's gone for with this record, and like I say, I think thematically, you know, I've read some reviews where I think some people have said they found this album quite like empty and vacuous, which I guess they've taken tracks like, you know, Wink Wink and then Card Declined, which was kind of like about shopping, but it's like not really about shopping. But if you read the lyrics on face value, it looks like she's just chatting about nothing. But I think if you look at the project as a whole, and if you look at the presentation and read between the lines of, you know, what Charlie's talking about and putting forward here, I think it's actually quite a fascinating and quite personal record that's got a lot to dissect. I mean, I've probably waffled on a bit too much there, but with I feel like I could probably like go through a bit more on it as well. It's one of those records. I think I've if I was to sum it up, I'd say at its core, it's an album that's about like the mortality of art. That's how I would sum it up. It's about the mortality of art. Um, and yeah, I just think it's quite beautiful. And like any Charlie album, it's a lot of fun as well. Like that 30 minutes that it's on just flies by for me. And yeah, I think it's great. Undecided where it ranks in her discography so far, but definitely been enjoying it. So a big thumbs up from me. But What did you think to music, fashion, and film from your side, Adam?
I mean, I think everything you said was just perfect there, really. I just enjoyed listening to what you had to say about it. I thought that was so good, man. Um,
Oh, appreciate it.
yeah, I agree. Like, I think similar to you, I think the expectation that I had as a fan of Charlie in general, but also a fan of Brat and the kind of impact that that brought, it was
Yeah.
like so much expectation that it was almost destined to disappoint in some ways. But
Mm,
I suppose the more you kind of sit and listen to the album and really dive into the layers and the lyrics and that, it kind of gives off a way more fleshed out and complete sort of listen than
mm,
what you get on the initial ones. Um, because yeah, I think for me as well, when the songs were being released as singles, you weren't really getting the full picture of them.
absolutely, yeah.
So sonically, because of how short they were, like you weren't really able to pick up a lot when they were just those standalone songs. But
Mm,
once the album sort of came out in its entirety, you could kind of understand where they fit within the context of the album.
mm,
And I think that's something that's similar to Brat, where you needed to see the entire thing to really like appreciate each song
absolutely, yeah.
individually. Um, and yeah, it was good to kind of still hear parts of what we heard on Brat and other sort of albums of Charlie, like her insecurities and kind of thoughts and opinions on herself, her career,
Mm,
um, and kind of broader industry topics and whatnot. But I think it was interesting to kind of get it from the perspective of where she's at now as someone who's a huge name and a
yeah.
headliner and everybody knows her name sort of thing. So it was kind of cool to still be able to hear insecurities and stuff while on that kind of elevated position now.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it was just once you sort of start getting accustomed to the songs, it was good to be able to sort of take in the lyrics and what the real meanings are behind them to really gain a sense of the kind of journey that Charlie goes through,
Mm,
ultimately leaving on points that discuss what music and fashion and film are in terms of art forms and also their kind of longevity in today's world, I suppose. It
that's
was
it.
just, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
really just, yeah, really interesting album. Really similar to you, an album that I don't know, I feel like you could just listen for an infinite amount of times and pick out just something new from them each time. Just, yeah, really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of those that like first listen, it just kind of felt like, yeah, this is okay. But then like you nailed it, like the more you listen to it, the more you unpack. And yeah, I think ultimately I've come away with it like holding it quite in strong regard, and I'd like to see where it ends up kind of at the end of the year, um, at the end as well. So yeah, big praise from both of us then for Charlie XCX.